Fort Myers, Florida, the Lee County Regatta kicking off a weeks-long celebration with action like this. These are Jersey skiffs, one of the many highlights of the first 2 days of racing. Here's Bob Gallo taking top honors among the speed skiffs. 7 classes of competition in all. We look at the winners. This weekend, the APBA's Offshore stars take the spotlight for a 200-mile run into the Gulf of Mexico. And that regatta closes out the end of the month with more hydroplane racing. This weekend's Fort Myers Offshore race sees world champ Tony Garcia and renowned boat sponsor Bernie Little going separate ways. Garcia moves into the Arneson Special, with which he'll seek his 6th consecutive victory. Jim Rollo reports the outcome next Saturday.
From beautiful Lee County, Florida, the American Powerboat Association brings the 2nd offshore race of the year to this picturesque Florida setting. 42 boats battling the waters of the Gulf of Mexico for the 1983 Lee County Regatta. Hello, everybody. I'm Art Ekman at the start-finish line here at the Fort Myers Beach Pier. It's an exciting event, that's for sure. Hundreds of boats have gathered, along with an estimated 100,000 spectators, to view what should be some very exciting racing. This is the jewel of a full month of powerboat racing in this area. The Lee County Regatta will send these powerful machines some 200 miles into the Gulf. And with us to help track the action is Jim Roller. And Jim, you're a veteran reporter along these lines, and this is an exciting race, not only because of the open division, but also because we've got 5 races within this race.
That's right. 5 classes race their own little war out there. They have their own little course. The open class boats race 200 miles, as you said. The other boats race a little bit shorter course. They have a little bit smaller boats. The engine displacements are a little bit different, but each one has their own little race, and it makes it interesting for everybody.
Not only do we have speed, but we also have an endurance factor here today, with the open division especially going out on the offshore course.
That's right. 200 miles is a long time, even in car racing, and when you compound the seas that we have here, anywhere from 5 to 8 foot seas, the whole crew, the driver, the navigator, the throttle man in these boats is going to be taking a terrific pounding, and the machinery is going to take a heck of a pounding, and it's going to take a well-prepared team just to make it to the finish.
Also helping us today atop the Lana Kai is a veteran racer in her own right. She has won this race, in fact, once before, and I'm speaking of Paula Aiken. Paula?
I'm here on the sunroof of the Lani Kai Hotel with a great view of checkpoint number 1. Now, I'm only 3 miles from the start of the race. This is going to be a very important start, as the coastline along here is very deceiving. Now, one year the boats missed this checkpoint, so the navigator is going to play a very important role.
All right, Jim, let's take a look at the course now, because after the straightaway, we go into turn 1. They turn out to one of the most difficult portions.
A 26-mile leg that is what they call the navigational leg of the course. It goes straight out into the Gulf of Mexico. This is where the navigator becomes the crucial member of that team. If he's off 1 degree, they can miss that checkpoint that they have to pass by as much as a mile. 2 miles could cause a disqualification. That's probably one of the keys to this race.
So it's not only speed and endurance, but also navigational skill that goes into that first leg. Now, turning toward turn 3, 19 miles back toward land.
That's right. This is also a long section. The navigation has got to be right on, but they do have some landmarks that they can go by. It's a little bit easier, but it's still 19 miles. A little error turns into a big error at the end.
Of course, when we get to turn 4, the many spectators can once again see the action. 4.7 miles to checkpoint in turn 5 in Carlos Bay.
That's right. The Bay checkpoint is also a navigation. They don't have any landmarks to go by. They've got to hit that one right on, and it's just a short turn to turn 6.
And turn 6, we come back to the start-finish line. The open division, of course, has 2 of the long course laps, but the other ones will have some short course action as well.
That's right. They'll take 1 lap on the long course, and then the dotted line course that you see there on your screen, that's the course that the smaller classes will be taking for the rest of the afternoon.
Now, as you can see, it's a vast area, and to cover this area, we have not only the camera here at the start-finish line and down in the Lana Kai, atop the Lana Kai, but also we have other camera locations out on the course.
Yeah, it would take a heck of a lens to reach 26 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico, so we have 3 helicopter cameras that will be following the boats around the course, and they'll be right there to bring us all the action as it happens.
And also on Sanibel Island.
That's right. The Sanibel Island camera will be giving us some great pictures.
Okay, so the scene is set, and we're all ready for the Lee County Regatta for 1983. We'll be right back with the action after this. Lee County Regatta is not just a test of speed on the water, but a test of endurance and strength. The open division is underway. Here's the approach to the start-finish line. $50,000 in purse money at stake, Jim.
The boats are all lined up as they close in on the start boat. The pace boat is way out in front. We're waiting for the flare to go off, which will be the start of the race to turn these powerful boats loose. There it is, the green flag, and jumping right out to the early lead is Howard Quam and his boat Flapjack, and the boats are underway, and what a thundering start.
A magnificent sight, Jim, as each one looks for their own groove.
That's right, trying to feel out the water, find their own line in the water, and head for that first turn marker.
It is beautiful. There's Flapjack, Arneson Special, and Betty Cook coming up on the outside. It looks like her kind of water. Stiletto, they have 4 in their crew. They're kind of trailing behind there. It looks like they're having some problems already at the beginning of the race. Fava Shoes is coming up. He's eating whitewater, though. It's not really a good place for him to be.
Now the start of the sport class, a difference in length and engine displacement, and another good competition underway in this division.
That's right, we've got 4 boats. The green flag is up, the flare is up, and they're going away, and jumping right out to the early lead is the Seahawk boat and Butch Ryan in the Express. Ryan in the S30, the Express boat, he's got the Cat. And the Seahawk boat, that's a V-bottom boat. He could have an advantage in this rougher water. Only seeing two boats go off here. We've already lost two of our sport boats. There are only 4 in this class. Here comes one of them right now. This is Luke Cooper, one of the oldest competitors in the competition, Art. And he's also running a Cougar catamaran. He's got a lot of ground to make up right off the start.
Boy, Seahawk is really moving there. He's way ahead there. He's really making his move now. He's ahead of Express. They're heading off. It looks like they're really going out a little bit too far. They're going to have to start coming inland here to make checkpoint number 1.
All of Indy 500. The start is underway, Jim, and the modified class coming by right now, the start-finish line.
The green flag is up, the flare is away, and Bob Erickson grabs the early lead in his boat, M3. And right up there with him is Bobby Shear Salmaguta, the National High Points champion from 1982. This is going to be a class to watch this afternoon. There's going to be a lot of action out there.
It's Bobby Shear, just as we figured. He's out in the lead in that cat. Really a fast boat. Bob Erickson's really going to give him a run for his money. It's neck and neck there. Seahawk, a deep V against those cats. There he is. He's really jumping out of the water. This is the class 2 years ago that was disqualified for missing checkpoint number 1. So we're really going to keep an eye on this time, see if they learn their lesson well.
The Pro Stock and the Class 5 get the same starting flare. It's a very, very popular division, Jim, and it gives the fans a different perspective with the lack of weight. There's a lot of action on the water.
That's right. Lighter boats, a little bit less displacement, but they're still quick. There's the green flag and the flare, and we're underway in the Pro Stock class. There you see the field going through, all packed tightly together. And these guys are going to provide a lot of action out there as they skip over these 4 to 8 foot waves. Lighter boats, they get airborne a lot easier.
Boy, it's beautiful. What a close race here. We've got Black Duck, of course, the winner from the last race in the lead. It looks again like they're heading down the chute in the right direction. They're coming right towards us here for checkpoint number 1. On the outside, looking good is that new Triton hull that everyone's going to be keeping an eye on. Some of these boats are taking some leapers. Black Duck, Peter Atkin is really going to give him a roll for his money. Here comes Howard Quam in Flapjack. He is in the lead, and is he ahead of everyone else? It looks like he's got a good half a mile on everyone. Howard has got to be one happy man to pass this checkpoint first, and he's got to make his way again over to checkpoint number 1, but I know he knows where it's at out there. Here comes Fava Shoes with George Morales at the wheel with Bob Adoni, the veteran, throttling for him, and is he looking good out there? Al Copeland, what a shame, he just went down in the water, but we can't put him out of the race yet. Maybe it's just a very minor difficulty. Betty Cook, looking good out there. That 60-year-old racing grandmother, of course, and number 89, Kama. We've got Sal Magluta in the modified boat. He's following close behind the open class boats, which is almost unheard of because he had to start 10 minutes behind them. Now that means that he has passed the 4 sport boats that took off 5 minutes before him. Sal is really moving out there. Very unusual out here. We've got a sport boat coming by. He's way behind the modified boats. He's really taking it easy, of course. He's probably using a lot of theory here because he's the only one that seems to be out there, and the answer of this game is to cross that finish line first.
And we see the Michelob Light passing up Popeyes right now here on the straightaway.
He's also having some trouble. He's going very, very slowly. Howard Quam has got an unbelievable margin over some of the other boats, and Howard is one of the people we spoke about earlier. And there's Tony Garcia. He's closing in on Tom Gentry in the Michelob Light boat in the Arneson Special. That's going to be a battle to watch between those two. But an unfortunate break for Al Copeland. He's one of those people that we wanted to watch. He was a definite contender, but those are the breaks of racing.
Meet an important part of the Michelob Light racing team, a brand new member. His name is Tom Gentry, hails from Hawaii. He's joined Bernie Little and Sammy James to make the boat go, and hope it goes for you. How do you feel about this union?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to be able to drive for a fine company like Enhauser, and Bernie especially. He's a neat guy.
Well, he's also a demanding man because he doesn't like to lose. He wants to win, and win he has.
Well, you betcha. I think that's exactly the right attitude, and I don't think my attitude is going to detract from that. I hope not, anyway.
All right, this boat has won 5 straight races going into this one. How do you feel about that? That's a lot of pressure.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. As a matter of fact, I guess that's the record. Nobody's ever been able to match that. But it's a tough season. We're out there for the points, and trick is to get out in front and stay there.
Sammy James handling the throttles, handling the trim tabs, you handling the wheel. What is the toughest part of your job?
Well, of course, he's the best, and my job is to get us there around all the corners and not run into anybody, and keep it one piece, I guess.
What is the toughest part of offshore racing? Is it the endurance? Is it the pounding?
Well, I don't know. I think it's the preparation. That's a large part. Large percentage of the boats don't finish the races, and of course that has a lot to do with the preparation. The rougher the water gets, the more that tells, and of course that's the key item. There are a lot of other aspects to it, but that is the major thing.
And it all, of course, boils down to looking for the checker flag, and that's an euphorious feeling.
You betcha.
Jim, you know, the Michelob Light boat's in 5th place out there. Do you think they're having engine problems, or what's going on?
It has to be engine problems, Paula. You notice the boat was surging, wasn't really on plane in a good attitude. You know, Sammy James right now was working the throttles. I felt the surge down there as they came out checkpoint 6 after leading somewhat of this race earlier. That's, of course, the fate of racing. As you know, they've won 5 straight races, hoping for a 6th today, winning the last 4 last year, the first one this year. And look at poor Popeye's Chicken with Al Copeland, who changed lead 14 times in the battle at New Orleans with the Michelob Light. So as you know, you have to keep it all together in the engine housing. There are those who will say that because of the change of drivers, that has nothing to do with the driver when it's mechanical. So I know that Tom and Sammy are doing their best out there today, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Well, I think you're right, and the race isn't won yet. You know, this is only the first lap of 1 more long lap and 3 short, and you can never guess on who's going to win until they cross that finish line.
There's no doubt about it. Those that keep it together will usually finish up high. Sammy James could be playing cat and mouse, but I don't think so at this point.
But those are the breaks of racing.
Jim, we thought with the winds and the rough sea that the V-hull might have a little advantage over the Cats. But they do find some smooth water out there to make it competitive, don't they?
They sure do, and those guys are looking for smooth water purposely to try and give themselves an advantage to get a little bit more speed. One of the people that we saw go by so fast was Sal Magluta, the national champion in modified. He's running a V-bottom Seahawk boat. He'd already passed the sport boats, which started 10 minutes in front of him. He was closing in on the open class boats, which are faster, but all the open class boats that are in contention are Cats.
Former national champion Peter Aiken right there, and he's got a lot of room to catch up.
Sure does. He's 44 seconds behind John Carbonell, a leader in the P class, but he's got that cat dialed in. He's hustling out there, and they have got it trimmed out, running very flat over the waves, and they're looking good right now.
That's the Strobolite craft.
That's Lance Rubel, defending world champion, two-time world champion in pro stock class. He's another person to watch throughout this race. He's running in a V-bottom boat. That boat could have an advantage in the rougher water. He's running in third. He's doing quite well so far. Going to be somebody we need to watch the rest of the afternoon.
Steve Curtis is doing some flying there, Jim.
He sure is. He's got that boat flat out as fast as it'll go. And here you see a prime example of what can happen to the catamarans. Those boats actually act as wings, and they kind of float across the water. As they get unstable in the waves, they can literally go airborne, and that's what's happening to him right now. It's costing him a lot of speed.
Popeye's coming in with only one engine, Jim.
That's right. Tough break for Al Copeland, a 1982 Harmsworth Trophy winner, man with a lot of experience, and he's had his share of good racing luck, and I guess every now and then you have your share of bad racing luck too.
Rage with Michael Johnson, not sounding too well.
No, a little bit of misfire there. They're just cruising along. They'll try and again, attrition the factor. If you got to finish first, and they'll just cruise along at this point, try and make it around the course, and hopefully get as good a result as possible.
You know, it takes a lot of people to put on a terrific race like this. There you see the Coast Guard. There's 33 Coast Guard auxiliary boats out there today, 1 sheriff's boat, 2 cutters, 14 patrol boats, 6 medical boats, and 2 medical helicopters. 18 paramedics throughout the course, keeping their eye on things to make sure things are safe.
Pete, you were the 1982 national champion for the pro stock class, and also you've won the first race of the year in the pro stock class. Does that put any pressure on you?
Well, not really, not compared to the end of last year where we had such terrible luck beginning of the year, breaking down and not completing our first 3 races. We got to the point where we had to win 3 of the last 5 races to become national champion. And going into the last race, the last national race last year, Bahamas, we were in 4th place nationally, and that's where we felt the pressure. Now, this year we're out to prove, hopefully prove it wasn't a fluke. And by coming off to a good start in New Orleans, we actually feel a little bit of less pressure.
Pete, in your class, you have one of the largest fleets. I know there's a lot of competition. Who do you look out there to be the greatest competition for you?
Well, I was kind of hoping this was a calm race, not only for our advantage, but for the first time in the production class, we're going to have a sizable fleet of multi-hulls. There's going to be 5, maybe 6 catamarans and trimarans out there, and I was hoping that we could all have a chance to run and just see who is the fastest. If we do get these waves that they're talking about, then our biggest competition would come from people like John Carbonell, who's got the biggest deep V out there. But in the calm water, we have the 2 California boats, Tritons, the other Shadow Cat from Connecticut, who came in 2nd in New Orleans, as well as these 2 new very fast Cougar Cats from Miami. They're kind of small. They'll have a little more trouble with the rough water than we will. But calm water, I'd like to see us all go out there and just see who's talking and who's telling the truth as far as our top speeds.
Pete, do you ever get scared when you're out there racing?
I get a lot more nervous before the race. Actually, when I wake up the morning of a race, the first thing I do is look out the window and try and see if it's rough or calm and how we're going to run the race. But once I'm actually in the boat and actually past the start, and it's just too much going on in the boat to really think about it. I've never been crazy about the starts. I like to get out and get a little room. And once we're out into the race course and everything, I'm really not too worried about it. But before the race, I do get my case of butterflies. I think most of us do out there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Here we have the Express completing the 2nd lap. Henry Ryan at the helm.
That's right, and the big question is what has happened to Sal Magluta. He was out in front of Ryan in the Express, his 37-foot active cat, and that boat has got the sport class title in its hip pocket. If he can just keep it together, he looks like he has backed off a little bit, and he's going to just finish out the course.
Here we have Bobby Shear, and has he picked up some space in that modified division?
He sure has. We said earlier he was putting on quite a show, and he's proved it here. He's moved into way up in the modified class, and as I said, he had it trimmed out quite well, was flying across the water, and that speed is come true for him.
That is a lot of hard work to catch up that much space. You got to have more than luck.
That's for sure. That takes a lot of skill. It takes a good throttle man and a good driver, a good team. They have to keep the boat trimmed out consistently. You just can't run fast and then slow down. You've got to keep it trimmed out, keep it on top of the waves, and just keep going for it.
Here comes Artisan Special, your new leader after the completion of the long course. He's had 2 laps on the long course. Tony Garcia at the helm. Garcia winning the first race in New Orleans in the Michelob Light.
That's right, and Tony Garcia is going for a record 6 straight offshore powerboat victory. He won 4 straight. That was a record. He won the season opener in New Orleans. He then changed boats. A lot of people didn't think he could do it here, but he's got a very experienced throttle man, and Keith Hazel, a former world champion throttle man with Jerry Jacoby. He's been around. He's been through his share of the wars, and Tony Garcia is showing the field where to go now.
Tony Garcia trying to hold on to that driver point lead after winning in New Orleans the first race of the series. Here comes your number 2 boat after completing 2 laps. It's Fava. Fava with George Morales coming by the start-finish line.
And Fava is on it also. They are just about 40 seconds behind Garcia. They are really on it. Also a former world champion, so we've got some people with some experience, and that experience is telling true so far.
With that distance now, does that apply pressure to the leader?
Well, at this point, not really, because Garcia was so far back. After the first long lap, he's been able to make the time up on the field. The pressure right now is on Fava because he doesn't want to fall any further behind. They're going into the short course now. Hopefully they'll get into a little bit smoother water. They could have a shot at him at the end if he can stay close enough.
Gus Falcon Seahawk coming down the opposite way.
Gus Falcon in his deep V, Seahawk sport class contender. Attrition continues, and that really, if Butch Ryan can keep it together, the loss of the Seahawk, that was his main competition in that sport class.
Sal Magluta in Seahawk, and Jim, this has been a real turnaround.
Sure has. Total role reversal. First time by, Magluta had about a 10-minute lead on Bobby Shear and company. It's completely flip-flop, and the national champion has found himself in the hunter role instead of the hunter hunted. He's got to catch him. You don't know if he can do it. But
Copper Kettle way back in the field as they head into the short course.
that's right. They'll be taking their first lap around the short course. They've just completed the long course.
Here we have Black Duck. And he's moving.
He sure is. Pete Aiken, the defending national champion, in his 30-foot Shadow Cat, 3 Mercury outboards on that boat. He's got it trimmed out very nicely. As you see, as he gets very little bounce. He just kind of skips along the top of the waves, and that's what you're looking for to get the speed. He's got some catching up to do, though. Butch Ryan flying to the checkered flag, got airborne right there briefly. He's moving in for the checkered flag and takes the sport class victory almost wire to wire. Didn't have a lot of competition, but he sure did set a fairly good time. Had a smooth, clean race, and that's what it took.
I think we've seen one of the key factors as Express just went by us, that it's not just the competition that you really have to beat in this race.
Sure, your competition decides how fast you have to go, but if you make the right decisions at the right time, you'll be around at the end. If not, well, they pick you up around 6 o'clock for dinner.
Well, it was a nice race run by Express, and they held it together all the way.
That's right, and we'll be waiting for more winners. We've got the modified class yet to come through, and the production class. They should be coming around shortly. Going to be interesting to see what happens in that Bobby Shear-Sal Magluta battle.
Bobby Shear getting the checkered flag.
2 in a row for Bobby Shear. First the New Orleans victory, his second straight New Orleans victory, and now a victory here at the Lee County Regatta. He's got to be a very happy man. An excellent race, down at one point by 10 minutes. It's got to be the race of the day so far.
And back to the open division, Jim.
Our leader, Tony Garcia, looking strong, looking very good. He's going by in the lead, looking for his 6th straight. Gave us the thumbs up on the way by. He's got to be confident.
His engines are humming right now as he's got one more lap to go.
Keith Hazel, his throttle man, is one of the most experienced throttle men in offshore racing. And as you can see, when they went by, they had it hooked up, they had it running flat, and they're looking strong going into that last lap.
And taking their due, waving to the crowd, victorious, the Express going back to the pit area.
That's right, they'll be going to the victory ceremonies, and that's a very thrilling feeling to finish up.
Faven, number 2 in the open division now as he tries to make up some space.
He's got it flat wide open. He's closed up a little bit of space on Garcia in the Arneson Special. That Faven boat, the 1980 world champion, Morales, has got it going flat out. They've got it trimmed tight. They're skipping across the water. They're looking to catch him in this last lap. Going to be a last lap battle, just as we thought.
And here comes Sal Magluta. What a race they've had as he comes across the start-finish line. He'll get the checkered flag.
Last year when Magluta won the championship, the reason was consistently high finishes. Does it here again with a 2nd place finish. I'm sure, however, he would have rather had 1st place, but an excellent run to the checkered flag nonetheless.
As he puts the Seahawk down the stretch in a smooth style.
2nd place in the modified class. Art, I've got him down here now as the Seahawk, the 31-foot Seahawk hull. It's driven by Sal Magluta, and he just took a 2nd place, and he's got to be pretty happy about that. I'm sure the conditions out there were such that he's just glad to finish the race at all. We got Sal Magluta and Justo J and Armando Rivera, and they're probably a real happy crew out there. They're going to come on in now by you. They're going to acknowledge the fact that they did finish the race, and we'll probably see them down later on in the winner's circle.
Peter Aiken and Black Duck crosses the finish line. The checkered flag is being waved across the way.
Again, consistency, the key in pro stock class. He ran the smoothest throughout, every time by us. He was the one that had it trimmed the best. He was most consistent with his throttling. Paid off in the end with a checkered flag and yet another victory for the defending champion.
All right, all the divisions finished except the big one, the open division, and one more lap to go as they come down the stretch for the lion's share of the $50,000 purse, the Arneson Special out in front.
Tony Garcia looking for that 6th win, the old racing cliche that on the last lap you hear every sound that your engine makes. And Garcia is going to be pressured by the Faven boat, who's a little bit further behind now. Garcia has pulled out a little bit more of a lead. Good cushion going into that final lap.
Tony, you're the only racer who's ever won 5 races in a row. Now you're changing that winning combination.
Yes, that's exactly why I'm here. After you win 5 in a row, I think that if someone offered me a canoe to race, I think I'd take it. There was a business deal that was done, and we're now racing as an Arneson Special for this race. The Michelob Light boat is now going to be run with Sammy James and Tom Gentry, which was really exciting. And it was strictly a business transaction. We're still excited about Michelob Light. We think they're the best sponsor in the national circuit, and we hope to have some surprises back later on in the season.
Your winning combination also was Sammy James, but he's with Michelob Light. Who's going to be throttling for you?
This race, we've got a very able fellow named Keith Hazel. Keith has been a favorite. I've never been in the boat with Keith, but we're very excited. We have been with each other, competitors, for the last couple years, and as you know, he's a very fine fellow. I'm going to miss Sammy in the boat. I think he's one of the best in the circuit.
Howard, as the inventor of the Arneson Drive, you have to be quite proud, and you've got quite a parlay going out there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know, when we first started, we were all alone out there, and then when we started winning, the other people started taking notice, and in this race we'll have 7 boats with our drives on it. And in the next few races we'll have more because they're being rigged right now.
Howard, I remember when you used to race the Sea Sweep, and then you went to the Arneson boat, and now you've got your own boat out there again. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, as you know, Tom Gentry bought the Michelob Light boat, and Tony has a string of 5 boats, 5 wins in a row. And if that that streak's going to come to an end, we'd rather have it happen out there in the water, not sitting on the beach. So we got this boat for this race.
Where are you going to be viewing this? Are you going to be in a helicopter?
I'm going to be in a helicopter right over Tony, all the way, or Sammy. You know, somebody asked me what boat I was going to root for, and it's like saying, well, who do you love most, your mother or your father? What can you do?
Well, it appears now that Arneson Special is going to take this victory as he heads into that last turn, and Mr. Garcia just continues to break his consecutive string.
That's right, Tony Garcia looking for the 6th win. He doesn't get it until he crosses the checkered flag, but when he does, he will break his own record. 5 straight, 3 at the end of last year, then the World Championship, the New Orleans race that kicked off the '83 campaign, and now here at the Lee County Regatta, Tony Garcia heading for the last checkpoint. He looks real strong.
Arneson Special is the same boat that won this particular regatta last year.
That's right, under the name of Rampage and under the guidance of Eddie Trotta, that boat came across taking the victory. It's got new drives, a new driver, but same position.
Tony Garcia now should be heading down the stretch as we see him coming across. Far from full throttle.
That's for sure. Tony Garcia on the cruise at this point. Just gonna ease it home for the checkered flag.
Surrounded by an armada of helicopters that have followed this race for us all the way, the Arneson Special taking the checkered flag and the winner of the 1983 Lee County Regatta.
Butch, we'd like to congratulate you on your win here. Of course, this is your first win of the season, and you took 2nd at Lake Pontchartrain. That gives you the leading points. What was it like out there?
It was tough on the outside leg. You know, they forecast 8-footers, and there were 8-footers out there. It's bad water. It was a good race, roll-run race. A good time.
Did you experience anything exciting out there, or is your boat capable of handling that type of sea?
It's basically an open boat. You know, it's 37 foot long, and it'll run as well as the open boats will. We were running with the open boats, and my crew told me to slow the damn thing down before we break some, because no one else in our class was near us.
Of course, we were watching, and we could see that you didn't really have much competition back there. You were aware of it, and you just slowed down to cross that finish line. Is that right?
Correct.
I see are you hurting here, or are you just sunburned?
A sunburn. It's on a cookie out there. I couldn't believe it. I come back in, my arms is raw.
Well, listen, congratulations. You're now the new sport class leader for the national circuit, and we hope that you do well the rest of the year.
Stay there.
Bobby Shear and Gary Jeffries, congratulations, M77 Sheer Terror. You weren't in the lead at the beginning. How did you manage to cross the finish line first?
Well, it was a good question. Apparently, while we were down, some of the other boats made a big lap instead of one of the shorter laps, and we were able to take the lead over and win.
Well, it's evidently is a navigational feat. How do you feel about this?
Feel tired. It was rough out there, and the boat definitely lived up to its name because it was a sheer terror today.
Tell me, did you have any trouble, or did your class have any trouble finding checkpoint number 1, which some of the classes did have trouble again this year?
No, we didn't. We weren't in the lead this year, so we had no problem finding it.
Okay. Well, listen, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here with Howard Arneson, the father and the innovator of the Arneson Drive. And Howard, this is 6 in a row for you, and the first, of course, with your new boat. What do you feel like?
Oh, I can't describe it, really. And we have two firsts here in the sport and the modified, so it's unreal, really.
What happened? I know Tony was kind of behind there in the beginning.
He stopped out there. It looked like he got into a crab pot or something, because Keith was in the water untangling the hose. And so they're several miles behind, and they just came on like gangbusters. I can't believe it.
Were you following the helicopter?
I was preparing my defeat speech. I'm not prepared for this.
Well, how many wins does this make it now?
It's 6 in a row. It's just absolutely incredible.
Well, we're going to see Tony in just a few minutes, so Howard, we'll catch you there with Tony.
Great.
Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Sammy, you won 5 in a row, and today you were out there with a new driver and the same boat, and it looks like you took 15 rounds with Joe Lewis. What happened to you?
Well, we was just running a little heavy seas, and when we rounded the checkpoint way out 27 miles out there, some big rollers, and we rounded it first, and we stuffed one of the sponsons, and when it did, the water come over and tore my helmet off, and it had to break that little nylon strap, so it did that, and about tore my head off along with it, and just knocked me silly. And I brought in a lot of other people that would, scramble their brain, but that's the first time I scrambled mine.
Well, I had understanding that you had been knocked unconscious for a while, and that you really didn't know where you were or who you were.
Well, we come in on Sanibel, and I wasn't sure if we was coming on the Grand Bahama or Key West or what. You run so many races and get a little confused out there.
That was your good luck helmet. I've been watching you race the last couple of years with that, and you don't have it anymore. It came off your head, and what happened to it?
It went back into the engine hatch and tore the engine scoop all to pieces, so it hit it with quite a bit of force. You get hurt now and then, and you just keep right on going. After 26 years, it's just part of racing.
Tell me, how's the boat? Is it all right?
The boat looks okay, and Tom Gentry did a real fine job of driving the boat, and everything is working out. We'll just go back now and lick our wounds and get ready for Detroit.
Well,
glad to see Tony won, though. At least he kept our string alive.
Well, congratulations, and I'm glad you're all right.
Well, that's the important thing, that nobody got hurt.
All right. Hey, I don't know. We're going to have to stop meeting like this.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Can you believe
and you're
it?
wet again. What
Can you
happened?
believe it? That is pure perspiration. I didn't fall in this time.
Tony,
it was hot out there.
6 in a row.
Can you? I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Somebody had to win.
I know.
Somebody had to win.
I'm as elated as Howard, and I can't even speak, so you've got to tell me.
It was exciting. We jumped out early, decided we'd run a second position. Betty ran out in front on that first turn. We started just to hold that position. Then we broke. We sheared the propeller off. Poor Keith jumped out. We actually changed the propeller, got back in the boat, put our uniforms, caught everybody again, stopped one more time with heat, and I guess we broke a least broken boat. But the boat ran well, amazingly, for that junk out there. It was junky. As you can see, it took the toll. I think everybody had a hard time.
What's this do for you now? How does this set you for points?
Well, I haven't had time to think about that. Gives me 800. I don't know, did anyone else take a second or, new players took second and third, so I guess we're leading the national circuit, and we got 6 in a row. Very exciting.
I knew that. I just want to let you know. Congratulations,
Thank you.
We're going to look forward to seeing you at the next race.
Oh, it's exciting, and thank you very much. Thank you.
All the boats are safely moored, and Jim, what an exciting adventure.
Boy, what can you say? Tony Garcia, 6 straight in a different boat, and we had winners that made it their 2nd straight, those being Bobby Shear in sheer terror in the modified class, and in pro stock, Pete Atkin after his New Orleans victory and his national championship last year, coming back and winning here in Fort Myers. And in the sport class, Butch Ryan in the Express. All of them are real happy right now.
Paula, it's interesting, I think, under adverse conditions out there, because it was very choppy and very windy, that the different types and styles of equipment would endure that way.
It's really unusual, because normally in 8-foot seas you'll have the deep V's winning. However, we had 4 catamarans win this one. 3 of them had the Arneson outdrives, and 1 was an outboard for Mercury. I tell you, they couldn't have asked for better conditions or better racing.
And what punishment on the individuals?
Well, we had a couple of injuries out there, and we don't even know how they're doing at this time, but we wish them all the best.
Jim, Garcia.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and a different boat, but the same boat that won this race last year.
That's right, and I think the key here is a different boat. Tony Garcia is the consummate offshore racer. He's got to be. He started off last year winning the last 3 races in the National Championship Series, finished high in the points, then won the World Championship, and he's picked right up this season where he's left off, and he did it here in a brand new boat. Everything was different. Tony Garcia's got his act together.
Art Ekman, on behalf of Jim Roller and Paula Aiken and Jim Hendrick, thanking you for being with us on the USA Network here in Florida.
A rookie starts on the pole in tomorrow's Indy 500. Motorcycles make their debut at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And a storybook comeback in offshore powerboat racing. All this and more today on television's fastest half hour. The American Power Boat Association's offshore division went to Florida last weekend. They were greeted by lots of sunshine and heavy seas. Jim Roller filed this report.
The Lee County Regatta is round 2 in the APBA's National High Point Offshore Series. And everyone here is wondering if Tony Garcia can make it 6 straight. Only this time he's got to do it behind the wheel of a different boat.
9 boats took to the Gulf of Mexico to try and break Garcia's 5-race win streak. Despite 4 to 8 foot seas, Howard Quam and his boat Flapjack set a blistering pace. Behind him, Garcia was giving the competition a big head start. First a broken prop, then overheating left Garcia way behind and seemingly out of contention. But Garcia and throttle man Keith Hazel, undaunted, rejoined the fray, some 20 minutes behind the rest of the field. Up front, others were having trouble. 4-time national champion Betty Cook had her steering fail. Then Quam, the man setting that fast early pace, dropped out with a similar problem. That left George Morales and his 38-foot Cougar catamaran Fava alone with victory nearly in his pocket. But he was shocked to see Garcia closing fast. Despite his early problems, defending world champion and brought his Arneson Special back to the front, and here he moves inside Morales and takes the lead. Then Morales' cat developed an outdrive problem. Garcia just sprinted away, cruising home an excited winner.
Can you stand it? Somebody had to win. That's all I could say. Went into it saying 6 in a row, that's impossible. And I told everyone that the odds start over again at every race. We worked hard for this one. And I'm sorry everybody else had so much trouble, but I think everybody did. It was a good course. It was a rough race. So it was fun to win.
In the modified class, Bobby Shear and his boat Sheer Terror made it 2 straight wins. Early class leader Sal Magluta, after working his way into an amazing 4th place overall, decided to run the open class course. Despite having to race 50 extra miles, he still got 2nd in the modified class. Here's a look at all the class winners. Butch Ryan wins in sport class uncontested, while in pro stock, Peter Aiken, the defending national champion, takes his 2nd straight 83 title. From Fort Myers, Florida, this is Jim Roller.
A lot of credit for Garcia's win goes to former national and world champion throttle man Keith Hazel. When Garcia lost a prop Sunday, Hazel grabbed his tools, dove into the cold water, and made repairs despite being tossed about by 8-foot seas. That hold-your-breath effort wins Keith Hazel our Bell Helmets Behind the Scenes Award, and he's now in the running for one of 2 Honda motorcycles that go to our year-end Behind the Scenes and Racer of the Year winners.
Production assistance and some travel arrangements made through Eastern Airlines, America's favorite way to fly. This summer, come to a magic kingdom with Eastern, the official airline of Walt Disney World. And Honda, the builders of the ultimate superbike for the street, the incredible V45 Interceptor. And by Bell, more racers have won more races wearing Bell helmets than any other helmet in the world. Bell, worn by the best. Illustrated was brought to you by Firestone Tire, where we're building radial tires street legal, competition tough, and proving it every week in the nation's toughest motorsports action. Firestone, the word's getting around. And by Honda Motorcycles. Honda, follow the leader.